In 1880, a market hunter named Jedediah Marsh could drop 11 ducks with a single blast. One gun, one trigger pull, no rifle required. That gun is illegal to own in every state today. He did not call it cruel, he called it Tuesday. Somewhere between his generation and yours, 18 frontier hunting tricks quietly disappeared, not because they stopped working, because most of them worked too well. Number 5 on this list helped wipe out a species that once darkened the sky for 3 straight days. It went extinct in 1914. We will get to it. Hit subscribe. Every trick on this list was completely legal in 1880. Almost none of them are legal now. Number 18. The punt gun. A punt gun was a shotgun built like a small cannon. It mounted to a low, flat boat called a punt. One blast could kill over 100 ducks resting on open water at once. A skilled 2-man crew could fill an entire wagon with birds before breakfast. Cities like Chicago and New York paid well for wild duck on the menu that demand only grew through the 1880s and 1890s. By the early 1900s, most states had banned punt guns outright. Waterfowl populations were collapsing fast, and anyone standing on the water could see exactly why. A single gun, 100 birds, one shot. Number 17. Fire. Hunting hunters set a controlled fire at the edge of a clearing. Then they waited downwind with rifles ready. Panicked deer ran straight into the open, straight into the guns. It worked almost every single time. It also burned thousands of acres of hunting ground down to the stump. Some years the fire spread faster than anyone could control it. Land that took decades to grow back was gone in a single afternoon. Today, using fire to drive game is illegal in all 50 states, without exception. Neighboring ranches sometimes burned along with the hunting ground. Number 16. Jacklighting deer at night. A lantern or torch held at shoulder. Height could freeze a deer in its tracks. The animal stared straight into the light instead of running away. That gave a hunter an easy, close-range shot in pitch darkness. It cost nothing but a torch and patience. It is still called jacklighting today, and it is illegal everywhere in the country. Night hunting with an artificial light source is one of the most universally banned practices in American wildlife law. Game wardens still catch people trying it every single season. The trick still works exactly the way it did in 1880. Number 15. Salt lick bait stations. Frontier hunters packed salt into hollow stumps and rock crevices. Then they simply waited nearby for deer to come find it. It cost almost nothing and worked in every season of the year. A hunter could set a dozen licks across his territory in one afternoon. Today, baiting deer is banned or heavily restricted in most states. The reason is not cruelty. Concentrated feeding sites spread disease through a herd faster than almost anything else in the woods. Chronic wasting disease alone has pushed several states toward a total baiting ban since the 1990s. A punt gun's recoil could snap a man's collarbone if he braced it wrong. Several boats capsized from the recoil alone. Armed hunters went into freezing water in total darkness. The gun never cared who was holding it. Number 14. Netting passenger pigeons. Passenger pigeons once flew in flocks so large they blocked out the sun for hours. Witnesses in the 1850s described a single flock taking 3 full days to pass overhead. Hunters strung nets across entire forest clearings. A single pull could catch hundreds of birds at once. By some estimates, the species was the most numerous bird in North America. Around 1850, its population ran into the billions. Commercial hunters shipped them to city markets by the railroad car. The last known passenger pigeon, a female named Martha, died in a Cincinnati zoo in 1914. 0 left from billions inside one human lifetime. Number 13. Live decoys for waterfowl. Tame, tethered ducks, called wild birds, Down out of the sky, they lured entire flocks straight into gun range. It worked better than any carved wooden decoy ever could. Official reason for the federal ban? In 1935, fairness to the birds being hunted. Real reason. Wildlife officials had watched live decoy hunters empty whole wetlands in a single season. The ducks' own instincts were being used against their own kind. Some hunters kept the same decoy duck working for over a decade. That kind of loyalty made the method almost impossible to outlaw. Quietly. Number 12. Buffalo wagon hunting. Hunters used covered wagons as mobile blinds. They rolled slowly toward a grazing herd that had never learned to fear a wagon's shape. Bison in North America numbered an estimated 30 to 60 million animals in 1800. By 1889, fewer than 300 remained in the wild. That collapse happened inside a single working lifetime. One government survey that year could only locate a few small scattered herds left standing. Market hunters had shot the rest for hides and tongues alone. A single tongue sold for pennies at a frontier trading post. Number 11. Denning bears in late winter. Hunters tracked a bear straight to its den. They dug it out while it was still sluggish from hibernation. Then they took it at close range before it could fully wake up. It was considered one of the more dangerous frontier techniques. A half-conscious bear is still a bear, claws and all. Most states banned den hunting by the mid-1900s, once eastern bear populations had fallen sharply. Guides charged extra for the risk, and plenty of hunters still refused. In 1900, Congress passed the Lacey Act. It was the first federal law banning interstate trade in illegally killed wildlife. Congress had never passed anything like it before. Market hunters fought it in court for years. They lost every time. It is still enforced today. Number 10. Coursing deer with dog packs. A pack of hounds ran a deer for miles at a time. The animal eventually collapsed from pure exhaustion, unable to run another step. Hunters simply walked up and finished it. The Boone and Crockett Club, founded in 1887, specifically condemned the practice as unsporting. Within a decade, most states banned hound hunting of deer entirely. By the early 1900s, a few holdout states kept it legal for another generation. The dogs were bred and trained specifically for the chase, not the kill. Their owners took pride in the breeding line, not the final shot. Number 9. Predator calling with live bait. A staked, injured animal called in wolves and mountain lions from miles away. Often it was a goat or a young calf. Predators were drawn straight to the sound of distress. The method worked. With brutal reliability almost every time, it also meant sacrificing one animal to kill another. The practice largely disappeared once synthetic distress calls made it unnecessary. That happened decades before most states got around to banning it outright. Ranchers hated losing even one animal to bait a trapline. Most considered it a fair trade for a dead wolf. Number 8. Spring-set trail guns. A rifle rigged to a tripwire could fire itself the moment anything crossed its path. Frontier hunters used them to guard bait lines they could not watch around the clock. The devices killed indiscriminately, animal, livestock, or person. Whichever crossed the wire first took the shot. Every state in the country now classifies unmanned spring guns as illegal booby traps, full stop. Courts ruled decades ago that a trap cannot tell friend from trespasser. Nobody in 1880 needed a permit to set one on their own land. Number 7. Strychnine. Predator bounties. State and territorial governments paid hunters to poison wolf and coyote carcasses. The poison was left out as bait for more predators to find. Official reason? Protecting frontier livestock from constant losses. Real reason revealed itself decades later. The poison did not just kill wolves, It killed eagles, foxes, and family dogs that found the very same carcass. Federal poison bait programs were finally banned in 1972, more than a lifetime after they began. Some ranchers had been running the same bait lines since their grandfather's time. Wildlife biologists spent decades afterward trying to rebuild what those programs wiped out. A spring-set trail gun killed at least one rancher in Wyoming in the 1890s. He was checking his own fence line on his own land. The gun had no way to recognize a friendly face. That is the entire reason the technique is banned everywhere today. Number 6. Market hunting quotas. Before regulation, a single market hunter could legally sell as many game birds as he could kill in a season. There was no bag limit. At all restaurants in Chicago and New York paid well for wild duck and prairie chicken on the menu. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service did not even exist yet to say otherwise. Railroads shipped iced game birds across state lines by the thousands every week. By 1918, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act ended commercial market hunting nationwide for good. No amount of lobbying ever brought it back. Number 5. Night roost shooting for turkey hunters. Located a turkey's roost tree at dusk. Then they returned after dark to shoot birds straight off the branch. The birds were asleep and unable to flee in the darkness. It was efficient and it worked nearly every time it was tried. Even by frontier standards, most hunters saw it as deeply unsporting. Roost shooting is illegal in every state with a wild turkey season today. A sleeping bird never even had the chance to run. Modern turkey hunters call that kind of shot dishonorable, not skillful. Number 4. Snaring big game. A simple wire loop anchored to a bent sapling could catch a deer by the neck or leg. It held the animal for hours until a hunter returned to check the line. The method required no skill with a rifle at all, just patience. Snaring big game is now banned across most of the country. The method cannot tell the difference between the animal you meant to catch and the one you did not. A neighbor's dog could just as easily end up in the same wire. Every trick on this list solved the same problem: how to kill more with less effort and less risk. Frontier hunters were not cruel for using them. They were living in a world that seemed too big to ever run out. It was not. Number 3. Bulk netting of game birds. Large ground nets sprung by a hidden trigger line could trap an entire covey of birds in one motion. A hunting camp judged a man less by his marksmanship than by how many birds he brought back the net. Did not care how good a shot you were. A hungry camp did not care either. Nets like these fed entire logging crews and railroad gangs through a long winter. Once bag limits arrived in the early 1900s, bulk netting disappeared within a single season almost everywhere. Number 2. Wagon blind. Herd approach beyond buffalo. The same wagon blind trick worked on pronghorn, elk, and deer. Any animal that had never learned to associate a wagon's shape with danger fell for it. Once wagons became a familiar, threatening sight to game animals, the trick simply stopped working. That happened within a single hunting generation. No law ever had to ban it. The animals simply got smarter, first, faster than any legislature could act. It is one of the only tricks on this list that regulation never touched. Number 1. The Lacey Act. Turning point. Every trick on this list existed inside one single assumption: American wildlife was infinite, and nothing a hunter did could ever run it out. The passenger pigeon proved that assumption wrong in 1914. The bison very nearly proved it a generation earlier. By the time Congress finally acted, an entire way of hunting had already gone extinct with them. It did not happen slowly. It happened inside one working lifetime, start to finish. That is the story. Every other trick on this list is really telling. In 1850, an estimated 5 billion passenger pigeons lived in North America. By 1914, that number was 0. We did not lose these 18 tricks because they stopped working. We lost them because an entire generation watched what happened when nothing was off limits. They decided never to let it happen again. What we gained in exchange has a name. Hunters today call it fair chase. It is the idea that the animal should always have a real chance to get away. Jedediah Marsh never had to think about that you do every single season. That is not a loss. That is the whole point. Frontier abundance built this country's hunting culture. Fair chase is what keeps it alive for the next generation. Drop this below. Which trick on this list actually shocked you? And do you hunt fair chase? What does that ethic mean to you in your own woods?